There we are. Let's set it up on the desktop. You guys are coming in. Just let's set it up on the desktop. Let me mute the desktop. Set up my little goal here. Therefore, I can keep track of the time, and then we can cut these down in time. I'm going to talk about Nancy Guthrie today, day number 94. There's a lot to report, actually. I'm just going to do it in a lot shorter time format. There we go. That's set up on the desktop computer. Hey, Jay. How you doing? I'm just going to give it a few minutes for people to come in. I actually have a lot to talk about today. Well, not a lot, but more than the usual on the Nancy Guthrie case, day number 94. Looks like we got 3 people in here, and one of them's myself. Me, myself, and I. So, how you guys doing? We have May gray today in LA. It's really kind of dark and kind of gloomy outside, but I like it. I like May gray, June gloom. Also, looks like it's going to rain, which would be like really bizarre for us. Well, only 2 people in here now. I guess we've already lost a few. Let's get it up. It's raining in Indy. Hey, Jane Rice. Welcome in. Well, for those watching on the replay, you may have to fast forward for the first 2.5 minutes at least. Still trying to bring in the audience. It's kind of an odd day to do this Tuesday afternoon. But I have my ball game coming from, is it Houston, I think, at 5. So the Dodgers and the Trash Tros. So 7 people. Can we get it up a little bit more? And then I can start? You guys hit those red hearts or the smiley faces, whatever you have to do. 16 people. All right, here we go. Hey, I'm April Davis, also known as April Davis PI. I'm a licensed private investigator in Los Angeles, California. Heisenberg, we're not talking about that today, but welcome in, sir. We are here to talk about Nancy Guthrie, day number 94. Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this. Day number 94. Hey, we got 31 people watching. Can you guys subscribe? I'm trying to get my subscriber count up to 3,000 and hit that like button. No matter if you're watching on a desktop, a tablet, a cell phone, hit that like button. So anyway, there's a couple things. This Brian Inton special is coming out tomorrow night on the CW. And I just discovered that you can download the CW app on a cell phone for free, or even on an iPad, any type of tablet. You don't have to have it on your, you don't have to have cable, because I thought, oh God, that's a cable channel. Like, who does cable anymore? But no, the CW app is free. So hopefully tomorrow night I will be able to get the Brian Inton special. There's another one on there that's already posted, but that's from a long time ago, from when they had those raids in Rio Rico and in Nancy's neighborhood. So I'm definitely going to watch that. I can't wait to see that. Now, he just, right before I came on the air, he did a short video that said that the sheriff's department is the lead on this case and that the FBI wasn't allowed in until the first 4 days. And it's, it's imperative that everything is put together in a nice little package with a little pretty bow on the top within 24 to 48 hours. They didn't start investigating until 4 days. They had a fixed-wing aircraft on standby to fly the DNA evidence to Quantico, Virginia, which is the top, crime lab, CSI lab in the world, and Nanos turned it down. And Nanos insisted on sending that piece of evidence, what they had, to Florida. Yeah, Jay says she's shaking her head. Me too. And, they have, I hate to say this word, but dicked around for the last 12 weeks. And now the FBI has the sample, and apparently they may have already forwarded it to a private lab in San Francisco who has the ability to extract DNA from a rootless hair sample. But see, the FBI, they could have taken that DNA evidence and had results apparently within days. Days. That's what they're saying now. And I guess the director of the FBI, he's really upset with the way this investigation has gone because they weren't allowed to take the lead in it, and they weren't allowed to come in from the beginning. Hello, Johnny. Welcome in. So, yeah, that's on Nanos, that for some reason he doesn't get along with the FBI and did not agree to have them help. Just like, all these search groups that came in, including the United Cajun Navy. And he was like, no, stay away, get out of our city. And the FBI sent hundreds of agents, many of them from their Phoenix office, and had a fixed wing aircraft on standby at the airport in Tucson to fly the evidence directly to Quantico, Virginia. And that never happened. Let's see. I just have to be my own mod for a moment, and I gotta take somebody out. Somebody's being a knucklehead. Jay says, "Yep, loser sheriff." So, I didn't realize that it was 4 days. I thought it was more like a couple of days. Like once they started getting that ransom demand, that's when it was required to call in the FBI because now it's potentially a kidnapping for ransom. And the notes were sent via the internet, so they could have been coming from anywhere, including another country, another state. So they had to bring in the FBI at that point, but they didn't until the fourth day. And remember, the crime scene was already released apparently after the first 20 hours that the police were called into this by the sheriff, by the Pima County Sheriff's Department. And the family included did have access to the inside of that house while they were waiting to bring in the FBI on the fourth day. Oh, the joys of monetization. Hey, Jamie James. Hey, April just made it to Kentucky. 4 days of driving. I hadn't seen you in the last few days, so I figured you were making your move. I hope everybody arrives safe and it all works out for you. But thanks for coming in here. Thank you. It's nice to see you. So yeah, that's the latest news that came out from Brian Enton, literally just before I went on the air. Jamie James says, I'll be on more often now. Okay, Jamie, you may have to watch the first few minutes of this just to hear the news that Brian Enton just announced regarding the FBI's involvement in the case and the DNA in the plane that was on standby. But I also, before I went on the air, I always check for any updates, and I found this. It's a news article, and it basically talks about what's going to be discussed tomorrow night on that pre-recorded special that's coming on the CW. So if you guys don't have that on your television network, make sure you go to your app or you go to your whatever you're on, Android, or I'm on Apple. I go to the Apple store. I downloaded the CW app for free. So mine's all ready to go. They didn't say a time yet, but it's sometime tomorrow night. So I'll be able to see it. If anybody knows the time, put it in the chat. Jay says the family could have taken a lot of relevant stuff without knowing. Absolutely, Jay, because they were given access to the house as soon as it was released in 20 hours. Now, other people are saying it was 30 hours, but the original timeline said 20 hours. So, okay, Chris Kelly, we're not talking about that today. Yeah, they could have taken a lot of stuff, and they also could have compromised DNA, such as hair or blood, uh, or even uh, aspirations from a sneeze or from their mouth. This next report talks about what's going to happen tomorrow night, and the title of this says Nancy Guthrie update: experts suggest kidnapper may be deceased. Actually, they wrote DEAD. Don't know if we can say that word here on a monetized channel, but that the kidnapper may be DEAD in disturbing new theory. Over 3 months have now passed since Nancy Guthrie, the beloved mother of television personality Savannah Guthrie, was taken from her home in Tucson, Arizona. Neither the local police department nor the FBI have produced any credible leads, but there's no shortage of popular theories on the internet. Guthrie disappeared from her home February 1st, and police quickly determined that she had been abducted against her will. I think so. In the days that followed, her family received several ransom notes demanding millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin, which the FBI later determined to be fake. Now, I don't necessarily believe that part of the story because I have not heard that the FBI determined the large Bitcoin demand ransom letters to be fake. In fact, they told Savannah that they thought those two ransom notes were relevant and that they were probably legit. So I don't know where they're getting this because I've never heard an announcement that the FBI later said they were fake. The text ransoms to Tommaso and Annie, those were fake, or it was actually maybe a transaction between three people who knew each other, who could possibly even been involved in this. But remember, everybody here on this channel is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Just have to get that one in there. It says there has been no further contact from the alleged kidnapper, and the only information authorities currently have to work with is forensic evidence from the scene and images of a masked figure caught on a doorbell camera. Yeah, that's front porch guy. Now, there may be no further contact because something may have happened, like she may have become DEAD. Jay says, how could they come to that conclusion that kidnapper was deceased? Theories are not evidence. Exactly. I'm not convinced of that at all. And there's a reason for that, which I'll explain in a moment. With the case passing the 3-month mark over the weekend, News Nation is looking back on the crime that's gripped the United States with a special episode titled News Nation Presents the Nancy Guthrie Mystery. Previews of the TV special have already raised some fascinating questions. I haven't seen the previews. Michael, I think so, but there's no proof of that, Michael. The episode will be hosted by Brian Enton, the journalist who has covered the Nancy Guthrie case extensively from the very beginning. He will be joined by criminal profilers Dr. Ann Burgess, Dr. Gary Bricado, and Dr. Casey Jordan. Now, Gary Bricado, I know he's famous and he's got a lot of wonderful credentials, but I believe he was the one who believed that she was killed elsewhere. Like, not like after she was abducted, but that the abduction was completely faked and staged and that she was already deceased from another location or unalived in another location. And I don't believe that at all because how do you explain the aspirated blood on the porch that dried with the bubbles that then popped and made the little rings and they could tell that was oxygenated blood? There's no way that blood could have been transplanted from another location and still have the oxygen in it. And if you've been watching my series from the very beginning and you watched some of the episodes from last week, we talked about uh, a person who I think isn't all the way there, who was, well, she was a panelist on a larger YouTuber's live stream where they brought in a panel to discuss this case. and she threw out the turkey baster theory. And we're not even going to go there in this video because that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I've been an investigator for 42 years. I've never heard of anything like that. So this Gary, he's going to say, oh, well, something went wrong elsewhere. They never brought her home. And then everything was planted. Now, is some of the evidence planted? Very possible. Are some of the ransom notes fakes or red herrings? Very possible. But based on the DNA evidence, based on the blood and the oxygenated, aspirated blood, and based on her heart rate spiking, and that still hasn't been confirmed yet, that her heart rate did spike around 2 a.m. as she was probably being drug out of her house. That pushes the theory that they did, either break in or somehow entered the house. They may have already been there, some of them before she got home from Tommaso and Annie's. But whatever went down, I believe went down at Nancy's. But yet the police have spent very little time doing a CSI workup at Nancy's because they've been too busy wasting their time over at Tommaso and Annie's. And apparently they don't have anything, because if they did, they probably would have already arrested them by now. If you're going to eliminate the people closest to her, you need to do it within a week or a couple days, not 5 or 6 weeks later. And I'm not convinced that anybody's been eliminated. Just saying. Yeah, I think if they've spent that much time over there, there's a reason. In exclusive footage obtained by Parade, the experts are discussing whether the man captured on Guthrie's camera was acting alone or whether the abduction was an organized effort with a boss elsewhere. I do believe the ringleader theory and the lackeys, as I've said, the queen bee and the worker bees. During the discussion, Burgess levels a new theory, and he says, I just had a thought. The person on Nancy's stoop may have been eliminated, Dr. Burgess said. She goes on to explain that he could have been unalived by the boss in order to cover his tracks. That's a possibility. In fact, something like that happened in a similar case that I can't really talk too much about here, but it's a very famous case that all of you guys would know about, where one of the players was eliminated about 6 weeks after an attempted kidnapping occurred that ended up being an unaliving instead. And then somebody that was directly involved got taken out. And then that person's death was incorrectly ruled a suicide. So it does happen in kidnappings, especially where you have the mastermind or the primaries, and then you have the lackeys, that they'll start taking each other out to cover their tracks. Kidnappers have essentially vanished from the map, says Jay, and doing press conferences, getting rid of possible talkers. This person says it was well planned. They got away with it, and they pulled a type of case that we've never seen before, as far as we know. Well, I don't really agree with that. Similar theories have been circulating the internet for months, but the police have always dismissed it as a credible solution. There have been no forensic evidence to suggest that the kidnapper was working in collaboration with anybody else. I disagree with that completely, though it remains a popular theory. Because, yeah, I'll fall over out of my chair dead if they say that this is a one-man job. If they catch somebody and they go, oh, there's nobody else involved here. Because I don't believe that there's nobody else involved here. I believe that this is a group and there is a mastermind. Now, there's always a possibility, and I call it from the very beginning the Savannah factor. And that's the first thing I thought of when all of this happened, the Savannah factor, because she is a famous person. And me being a Hollywood PI and doing what I've done for a living for, 35 years full time, that people that are celebrities or people that are related to celebrities, they have a bullseye on their back. And if we have like a stalker situation or somebody that was out to get Savannah, either for stalking reasons, harassment reasons, revenge, money, then the mother was an easy mark. She had very little security at that house. She lived alone. She didn't even have a subscription on her Nest doorbell, which it seems like they might have known that. Um, I'm just saying, there's always the Savannah factor, the lone gunman theory. You know, um, I doubt it. If it is connected, if it's not directly connected to somebody out to get her because she's related to Savannah Guthrie, and it's somebody close to her, then this is a group. There's a mastermind, and there's the lackeys. Um, let's see. Nanotechnology doing press conferences. Nano's doing press conferences. Um, yeah, he was at the beginning. I haven't seen any lately, but he did one on KVOA, but that just aired in Tucson. That wasn't like a nationwide press conference. He was busy doing that within the first day, and dealing with uh, a brother who uh, passed away within a day of this. And, by the following Tuesday, even before the FBI was there, he was like a media star. But who was running the show? Who was leading the troops when you're busy going on television? And then he was seen like at a basketball game, and I think he was seen at a gym or a spa or something. Like, what are you doing, man? By the time the FBI got there, 4 days later now, according to Brian Enton, it's all messed up. And by then, because of her medical situation, I think she probably was already gone. And I don't mean gone like they took her somewhere gone. I mean gone like, I hate to say this, but she was DEAD. She was already bleeding when she left the house. Her heart was racing. With a pacemaker, I got to imagine she was on blood pressure meds, heart meds, blood thinners. And I'm an expert on that, even though I'm young enough to be Nancy Guthrie's daughter. I'm I'm a tad bit older than Savannah. Um, yeah, like heck, she could have bled to death on the way to wherever they were going to take her. I don't think they were able to keep her alive very long. Now, could it have not been a kidnapping at all for ransom and that's all a red herring? Yes. But the FBI said they believed that the first two letters that came in regarding the 4 million and the 6 million in Bitcoin, that those were real. Then we had the Derek Kallela character or actor that came into the soap opera. And it almost seemed like when he was sending the ransom text to Annie Tomaso that he might already know them and then called one of them. And I either had a 9 or an 11-second phone call, apparently with Annie, like, hey, what about my Bitcoin? Like he already knew them. He had their phone numbers. Um, Jay, nothing was happening with the case in the first few days. Nanos was playing celebrity. Exactly. It's just like, I can't even believe it. I mean, some of this stuff is Detective School 101. First thing you do immediately when you pull up is you secure the scene, especially when there's noticeable blood at the front door. Like before you even walk into that house, it's like, oh my God, we might have a homicide. You even get the family out of there, get them out. That should have happened in the Ramsey case. But remember, they thought they were originally dealing with a kidnapping, and the house was full of people because the Ramseys invited all their friends over, and there was only one detective. And oh my God, the pop eyed Linda Arndt, like, oh my God. That's why that case, just from day one, it was the holidays. A lot of the detectives were on vacation. They didn't even have homicides in Boulder. They had narcotic detectives. That went wrong from day one. They should have had everybody out of that house, whether it was a kidnapping, an unaliving, a kidnapping gone wrong, and then a death. They should have had everybody out of that house. And that house, the crime scene, after it's already been compromised by, Annie Tomaso, who went over there to look for their mother. I mean, obviously, they're the caregivers. They get a call that she's missing. They go over there and they check. They call 911. Just a couple of deputies come out thinking they've got a missing silver alert. But then there's blood. And the original the original report was that there was forced entry. Now, that's never been confirmed. There was also a report there was blood in the house besides blood at the front door. Never yet been confirmed. And then the house is released in 20 hours, maybe 30, because, they keep changing the story on this. And, half the internet was out there, and the Pizza Man and USPS and Amazon, and, even Brian Enton's crew went up there and took video. All these YouTubers on the ground went up there and took video. And, you've got the front porch mat left behind. You've got the Ring or network, not the Nest camera, the little frame that holds the actual doorbell. It's still there. Some of the plants that were actually picked up by the guy in the gloves, front porch guy, they're all over the front porch mixed in the blood. Nobody took any of that. It's just like, are you kidding me? Like, I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was like watching a train wreck or a plane crash. But it was a crime scene. And now, whether it was intended as a kidnapping for ransom or it was intended from an unaliving from the very start, even if it was a kidnapping gone wrong, it is now a homicide case. Unless she's sitting alive somewhere taking a cruise, as our old moderator used to say. Oh, she's just going to show up one day because she's on a cruise to Mexico. Remember, they had a private jet that left at 4 something in the morning that went to Acapulco. I know we're talking tongue in cheek here, but that didn't happen. She's not going to just show up on a bench someday and be like, with her memory wiped, like, hey, here I am. Like, no. Now this is a recovery mission at this point. We've got to find her. And I don't mean me and you personally, but law enforcement, the FBI, the sheriff's department, search teams, rescue teams. They've got to go and do a search, especially of the desert. Yes, should have, Jay. Yeah, Lori Smith says rich families dictate crime scenes, not the popo. Well, we don't know that. If Savannah, I know she talked to Mark Kelly, and he showed up Monday morning, like less than 24 hours after this was reported to police with coffee and donuts at the Pima County Sheriff's Department. But hey, Chew, I haven't seen you in a long time. Where you been, Chew? So, yeah, that's the latest. Download the CW app, watch the Brian Enton special. I can already tell you that I'm interested to hear from this Dr. Ann Burgess and this Dr. Casey Jordan. I don't know who Casey Jordan is, but this Gary Bricado, he's totally, in the mindset that, oh, it's this happened elsewhere and everything that happened at the house was staged later. I totally don't believe that. It doesn't explain the oxygenated blood droplets on the porch, unless they got that wrong too. But if the FBI says they were oxygenated blood droplets, then I believe that they are, because they know more about this stuff than I do. I'm not a CSI expert. From documentaries I've seen, the desert is a very popular place to hide a victim. Exactly. And that's why even if they brought in the Cajun Navy and, sadly, if they didn't find Nancy, they have a very high chance, especially the desert of Tucson, that's only, 70 miles or so north of the Mexican border. They would find maybe at least a couple or maybe 2 or 3 people that are missing out there. That area has probably never been searched by the Cajun Navy. These searchers should have been brought there the first week of February. And they're not even going to charge money, and they've been turned away. I think Feldman is coordinating the whole narrative, even the FBI. I hadn't thought about that, Lori. And for those that don't know who she's talking about, that would be Michael Feldman, Savannah's husband. That's a possibility. They could still take the dogs, yes, but there was a guy named Brian who is he's making a second request to come out there. He said they would have to take more dogs and they would have to work a lot fewer hours because, you know, the further we get into like the summer months, it's going to be 120 degrees there every single day. And you got the rattlesnakes, at first they were still in hibernation. Now they're awake and their babies are, they're making their babies, and there's just wildlife and cacti and thorny, sharp weeds and tumbleweeds, and there's probably all kinds of trash out there. Especially where the when they have the monsoonal storms, and it could be on the outskirts where they don't have those drainage ditches or those canals, and then the water just the desert ground is so hard that it doesn't like soak the water in. It's like Las Vegas, like there's no ability for the water to soak into the soil because it's just dirt and rock, and it's rock hard, and all that water just goes, and it carries everything that's out there, whether it's remains, whether it's, I hate to say it, but bones, or um, there's deceased animals out there because, where are they going to go when the animals, when they're at the end of their life, or they get, you know, unalived by another animal, there's going to be bones in a desert. You have an area that, people go hiking in 120-degree weather and they go into the desert and they never come out. Happens all the time. Um, what was it, the Lost Dutchman's Mine or Treasure or something in Phoenix? People still go out there in the summer looking for the lost gold and they never come back. Um, hey, Peggy, there's snakes, yes, and mountain lions and bobcats and coyote, and uh, it's very dangerous. The ground is not flat; it's rocky, it's hilly. There's gullies. You know, you could step in a hole. Um, you could trip on a rock. Um, it would have been much easier to search in February and March. Every month now, from April to May forward, the conditions out there are just going to be deplorable. Yeah, there is a game today. I need to look up the time. Anybody know the time of the Dodgers and the Astros? I assume it's the same time as yesterday. It'll be about 5 o'clock my time. I can barely own and operate my own pair of shoes. What does that mean? I've got my mojo. So, yeah, I feel sorry for the dogs that make, if they get approved to come out, hopefully they'll start with drones and airplanes. Um, oh, dangerous ground. Yeah, I mean, just look at the brush that's behind her house, what's called the utility easement. I mean, that's rugged, and that's within her own neighborhood. So imagine if you just go a few miles out, into the open desert. They also should have people searching any lakes that are in the area. There is a lake that's not too far from there. Have the water searched, have the desert searched. But this ridiculous theory that it happened elsewhere and then everything was set up afterwards, even if everything was set up and everything is a red herring as far as the kidnapping and the kidnapping for ransom notes, I still think whatever happened went down in the house. And before I knew about the pacemaker and all that information, I thought, wow, she could have even have been DAD in the house. But then when I heard about, no, her heart was still beating and apparently maybe racing at the time that it unsynced, and it would unsync within 30 feet of her devices, then the oxygen that was in the blood that they think aspirated from the mouth and or nose, then I was like, oh wow, she was alive when they took her, but she was probably in very bad shape. Dodgers start in 1 hour. Thank you, Lori Smith. Yeah, this is my Twins jersey that was sent to me by the Minnesota Twins. Yay! I'm not a big Twins fan, but I kind of like them now. Um, yeah, and I haven't had any more baseball mail. I don't know what's going on with that. I wonder if somebody in the post office is ripping off my baseball mail because they're getting, boxes and stuff from the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Mets and the Cubs. And I haven't heard from any of the the major market teams. I've heard a lot from some of the smaller market teams thus far. You know who you are, Sue. I'm down to my last bottle of the Diet Ginger Beer, which is another name for Diet Ginger Ale, but brewed in Australia. Absolute best. And I have a little bit of a stomach ache today, so that's just going to hit the spot. Fix me right up. Now I just probably need, if I can get the next gift card sent to me, I might order the Japanese, the soup. What is it called? That they make it. Oh, there's a famous Japanese place. It's in Studio City. God, I've been there for years now. Uh, I'm on air and I can't remember the name, but they make a soup bowl, but it's about $25, and I can't just buy that on disability. But hey, if I get another card, I think I'm going to order that Japanese soup. Um, but I've had some great meals. I've had some Italian and I've had some Mexican meals from the people that did send the cards. So thank you so much. Hey, Don, I'm doing good. You're going to have to go back to the beginning because I talked about the most recent announcement from Brian Enton, and then I talked about this TV special that's going to be on the CW tomorrow night, which I think will be an interesting watch. And luckily, I looked up that I could download the app for free and be able to watch it. I just don't know what time it's coming on. If anybody knows that, let me know, but I'll be able to watch that. So that's going to be interesting to hear this Dr. Ann Burgess, Dr. Gary Brocado, and Dr. Casey Jordan on this show. Even though I don't agree with the Brocado theory that this all happened elsewhere, and then all of the things that you saw at the house, including front door guy or front porch guy, that was later, like just to make it look like kidnapping. Like, I just don't believe that. Now, did something possibly go wrong? Sure. Or are we back to my original thought when I first heard of this on Sunday, February 1st? Like, oh my God, the Savannah factor. This is the mother of Savannah Guthrie. Like, that was the first thing as a Hollywood PI that went through my mind. But it may not be connected to that. It may be what most kidnappings or abductions or unalivings are caused by, and that's by someone close to you, like 90% of the time. Don says, I notice on some of these channels that it is just clickbait. Yes, most of them, actually. It's crazy. I'm glad that there is some true channels on here with true facts on the case. Absolutely. You will never see anything clickbaity from me, but you'll also never see me, bash another YouTuber, no matter who it is. Like, we all get along here. Everybody gets along. And remember, on my channel, just in case some knuckleheads come in, no politics, no religion, no bullying, unless you want to bully me and I can handle it. Won't bother me at all. In fact, I'll thank you for the clicks. And no arguing with each other amongst the chat, because then people get hurt feelings and they leave the channel thinking that I need to be the moderator of all that. Like, no, don't have time for that BS. So if you guys are going to argue or you know shoot darts at each other in the chat, then just go bother somebody else's channel. Don't do it on my channel. We're here talking about a very serious thing. This is missing Nancy Guthrie, day number 94. Can you believe that? And then, just the horrible news that, the FBI was there 4 days later, but yet they had their fixed wing aircraft there ready to take the DNA evidence to Quantico, and they were denied. They had hundreds of agents from various field offices. Most of them came in from Phoenix, plus a fixed wing aircraft, a lab that was, ready to accept the evidence. And it just sat for 12 weeks in Florida with no results. Jay says, you only watch April. Wow. Well, I don't know everything about this. Feel free to watch other people too. I'm not boots on the ground, so I have to rely on a lot of you guys actually to tell me certain things that are going on in front of the house. If you guys haven't seen my suspect video under the long form content tab, make sure you see that suspect video. Yeah, 94 days. I mean, I can't believe that I'm still here talking about this 94 days later. And then some people, they get upset because they'll come in and, I'll have like, 2 minutes worth of new information to report. And then we just open the chat to everybody like, hey, what do you want to talk about? And people, go off on different subjects. And, I'm here to talk about anything, but this has got to be about Nancy, because then people go like, hey, I came to your video to watch about Nancy and you guys were talking about all this other stuff. So I don't mind talking about the other stuff, but maybe we could do that like in some of the late night chats where it's just like more personable. Whereas, right now, the reason I'm doing this is to keep the focus on Nancy Guthrie. Dawn says, I heard about that. That was nuts. I believe Nancy probably would have been found, or who did this sooner. So sad. Yeah, it should have been, this smells so much like the John and A. Ramsey case. Okay. The John Benet Ramsey case. Think about that. This holiday season, it'll be 30 years. I don't know what month her birthday is or was, but she was 6 when it happened. So if she wouldn't be there already, because I don't know what month she was born, but John Benet Ramsey would be or would be close to being 36 years old. By the time that anniversary comes up, she would have been 36 years old. And she made it to age 6. Like, so many mistakes were made there. And because of that, they'll probably never solve it. And the same thing, I'm seeing the same thing. It made me think that Tucson is a very small town. But yet we met our new friend here who, a simple gal at heart, and she actually lives in Tucson, and she lives in Nancy's neighborhood in the Catalina foothills. I haven't seen her the last few days. I hope you're okay, Sandra. She said that Tucson is not as small as everybody thinks it is. And she lives there. She's lived there. I don't know if she's lived there her whole life, but a long time. Her husband used to work with Savannah when Savannah first started her broadcasting career in Tucson. They worked at the same news station. So, she goes way, way back with the people of Tucson and with the Guthrie family. I don't know if she knew Nancy. I don't know if I even asked her that, but that's somebody I'd love to talk to in person. If I was in Tucson, I would love to meet her and just like, get a neighbor's perspective. Brian Enton does that a lot where he'll go into a neighbor's home and he'll interview them. I would love to be able to do that because the people that live there probably know a lot more that's going on in that neighborhood than any one of us here. Is Banana still in office? Unfortunately, yes, Dawn. Peggy says, hi, April. That was so sad. Suspicious, definitely. I live in Phoenix, and it is not small. Do you mean Tucson? It seems that like so many of the characters or actors, as I'm calling them in this case, that they're all somehow connected on paper through the 6 degrees of separation. Hi, Will Byers. Welcome in. So yeah, like it seems like it's a small town, but apparently it's not. And I'd hate to think how many hundreds of square miles there could be around Tucson as far as just open desert. Like if the Cajun Navy comes out, it's going to be like finding a needle in a haystack, and they're going to have to deal with, bones, even bones of past animals, things that have been carried away or floated into the area because of the summer monsoonal weather. And that could not be that far away because it's already May. And they're saying that the West Coast, we're going to have an El Nino, and it's really going to affect like Southern California, like more towards November and December, but they're also expecting that some of these desert storms, they're almost like tropical storms that come up from Mexico. Some of them hit Southern California too, but we don't really get it much in the city, but they get a ton of it in Tucson and Phoenix, Las Vegas, and they get those dirt devil storms, those dust storms, look like tornadoes coming, but it's a big old of you just it all of a sudden you're driving down the freeway and you can't see anymore and everybody's like crashing into each other. And you just like drive into this big wave of a massive wave of dirt that's coming at you. Like, you know, they should have been searching this area since the first week of February. And they should have let the FBI take that DNA to Quantico because they could have had more information within days from what they're saying. And now it's been more than 12 weeks. Hey, Kathy, nice to see you. Yeah, the dust storms. I knew somebody who was a New Yorker who had lived in LA for 25 years. Good friend of mine from way, way back. And he moved to Phoenix for a while and bought a house in Mesa. And no, Gilbert. Yeah, Mesa came later, but bought a place in Gilbert. And his best friend from California also had a house in Gilbert, but about 5 away. And one day he was out working in his garage, and his friend calls him and says, "Hey, where are you? What are you doing?" Kind of hyped up. And he's like, "Oh, I'm working out in the garage. And he's like, "Get in the house now. Get all the windows closed now." And he had a 3-level house. And it was that time of year where the weather was still like perfect and he didn't have to have the AC on and he had the upstairs windows open. And this guy, his friend, was like, "Get in the house now. One of these dust devils just went over my house. It's headed in your direction." And he was like, "Huh?" And he walks out on the driveway and he looks in that direction and he can see it coming. And the guy, his friend, who he knew in California, lived in the same neighborhood with that guy also in California, then lived in the same neighborhood with him in Phoenix, was like, "Get in the house now. Like, run. Don't talk to me. Close your garage doors now. Close your windows now, or your whole house is going to be destroyed." And he went to the 3rd floor, did that first, then went down to the 2nd, went down to the 1st, and was like out of breath, standing in the center of the house, thinking, because he could hear it coming at that point. He could hear it like a tornado. And he had just bought a brand new table and chairs for the outside of the house to sit outside. There was a slider door, he said, that went from the family room to the outside, and he had like a little patio or a deck or something. And he had just bought the brand new table and chairs with an umbrella. It was still like closed. It wasn't even open yet. And the chair started flipping over, and he was like, "Oh my God," like he thought the glass was going to break. And all of a sudden, the umbrella, let's say this is the umbrella, and it's still closed, and it's in the center of the table, it goes like that. It just gets sucked into the air. And he's like, "Oh my God, my umbrella." And he's waiting for it to crash down, but he doesn't see it. And then the dust devil is passing. He runs out in his backyard and he looks up, and on the 3rd story of his house, on the side of the house, the umbrella, still closed, is stuck to the side of his house. And then when the wind completely passes by, the umbrella falls from the 3rd floor and lands in his backyard. And he was just like, "Oh my God." Like, those umbrellas are heavy. And it's just like when you're at the beach and the wind comes and your beach umbrellas go flying down the beach. But this was a closed, like a patio umbrella. And it got sucked until it stuck on the side of the house. And he was like, "April, you wouldn't believe the dirt and the dust. And, my brand new lawn furniture was just like damaged, tipped over, like heavy wrought iron chairs just blowing away." Like, uh, that's going to happen in Tucson. That's going to destroy evidence. If there's evidence out in the desert, assuming that that's where she may be. Um, she could be in another state. She could be in another country. She could be in a lake. Peggy says her sister lives in Gilbert. Oh, yeah, like, don't wait until monsoon season to say, "Hey, maybe we need your help now to go do a ground search." May have started out as a wrench kidnapping. They're on the rise, but she unalived, passed, submission aborted. That's very possible, Lori. Uh, am I afraid of earthquakes? Not at all. And you know why? Because I lived all over the country when I was a kid, all over the country. And even though I don't want the big one, that would be terrible because I'd have, like, where am I going to go? My parents are dead. Like, where do I go? And I got my pets and I'm disabled. So, yeah, I don't want the big one, but I don't think I could ever be one that was already bigger than Northridge, which I lived through and it was horrible. Um, we have earthquakes all the time and most of them are minimal. I've lived in places where there's been killer hurricanes and tornadoes, and I will take a small to medium sized earthquake um, every day of the week before I would take a tornado or a devastating hurricane. Um, okay, cotton picker, thanks for your engagement, but see ya. Uh, I don't understand your comment, Rowan. Yes, Jay says every state has something. Kathy says we don't have much here in Massachusetts, but you got cold winters. You know, my mom was on a shuttle once to LAX years ago, and she met a couple who said that their best friends left after the Silmar quake of 1971 or 72, I think it was. I think it was 71 because we had just left LA. We hadn't been gone that long when that happened. And we knew a lot of people here that were still here when that happened. And they got scared and they moved to Kansas. And less than a year later, those people were killed in a tornado. You know, there's they should have stayed in LA. Um, another Section 8 person. Nope, you're out of here. I get something new every day. You know, yesterday, if you guys didn't watch yesterday's show, apparently one of the, well, it wasn't apparently, one of the regular followers came in, one of the regular subscribers, and said there was a rumor that I was DEAD. Like, I didn't know that. I'm like, wow, like this must be my ghost making all these videos. Tell me about the Northridge. It was bad. And actually, the Northridge quake, 6 months later, they determined the exact intersection, and it actually happened in Reseda, which is right next door to Northridge. It's part of LA. I was in Studio City at the time. It was very bad. I knew for about 3 days it was coming because I had stopped sleeping. And I felt a little foreshock in the middle of the night that not anyone in LA felt. It was only like a 2-pointer. You never feel those, but I felt it because I was on such hyper alert. So the worst part for me is that I had had no sleep for about 3 days. And I had a business appointment I was supposed to be at in Manhattan Beach in the morning. And I was like, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to, because I'll like die in a car wreck trying to get there after, at the time I lived with a boyfriend and I wanted to wake him up to say, you need to start putting the TVs down on the floor. You need to, but I thought if it doesn't happen, he'll think I'm crazy. So I'm just going to let him sleep. And about 4:30 in the morning, it was like a plane crashed into the building. It was horrific. Um, you got here late yesterday. Watch the replay. I did not live in Northridge, but I lived in LA. In fact, the building that collapsed in Northridge that killed a lot of people on the first floor, I had done a case in that building because I'm a detective. I had done a case there the October before. The Northridge, was it called the Northridge Meadows or something? And I had a very weird feeling when I was in that building. Very weird, where I felt sick when I walked in and I felt sick when I walked out. And my appointment was on the third floor, but when I was in the elevator and when I was on the first floor, I felt very ill and I didn't leave right away. I sat in my car and I was like, something very bad is going to happen here. And people on the first floor, most of them are going to be deceased if they don't get out of this building. And I'm not a psychic, but I finally, and I thought, well, I can't go knocking on doors telling people, you better move because, something's going to happen to your building. And there was even a letter in the elevator that said, if the elevator gets stuck because of an earthquake, and I'm like, an earthquake? And it was real creepy and small and dark. And I don't like to be in confined spaces like that. And I don't like creepy elevators because if I'm to get stuck in an elevator, if there's an elevator to get stuck in LA or any city that I'm in, I'll be the one that's in it. I've been stuck like 6 or 7 times in my life. And that was creepy. Like, oh my God, in case of an earthquake. And I never thought that it could be an earthquake, but I was like, some kind of disaster is going to happen here. And the building, it pancaked onto the first floor. And the shopping mall where I, shopped for years, the fourth level of that pancaked. And so the fact that it happened in the middle of the night saved a lot of lives, but there were still more than 60 deaths. It was awful. Jay said, we lived in Louisiana till 1999. There was a big one out there, and he is very sensitive to movement, and he felt it. There was one in Louisiana? Lori, Oklahoma City. We eat, breathe, and sleep tornadoes here in OKC. Go Thunder. I've got a cousin that lives in Tulsa. Nope. One of my favorite YouTubers moved from LA to Alaska to Tulsa because he got married to someone from Tulsa. And they've had some really close calls. And their house has no storm shelter. Corey, if you're out there, buy a bigger house with a storm shelter. Did I live there? I lived in Los Angeles, and I lived in the San Fernando Valley. It was so bad that the Richter scales, the needles, went off the scale. And there's a theory that the government underreported the magnitude so that they wouldn't have to come in and pay everybody. Because the machines only go up to 9, and the needles in the San Fernando Valley, they went off the scales. It was bad, and it was in the dark. I couldn't even get out of the bed. And nobody that doesn't, if you're not familiar with earthquakes, I can't describe to you the sound. And sometimes you can hear them coming. But I was still, even with going through that, I would do an earthquake any day. I don't want another one that big, you know. There's been several big ones that have been in Southern California or Mexico, and we can feel them, even though they're just kind of like sway, and it just goes on and on and on. And speaking of that, the aftershocks, they go on for years, not months, not days, not weeks, years. But the first few months, the building is constantly moving. In fact, everybody in our building left. And one of my neighbors was this guy who worked for MTV, and he was on a business trip in New York at their headquarters and then came back. And, we hadn't seen him. So we just assumed he was out of town, which he was. And he told us, I have 2 cats, and they were in the apartment alone. Like, you didn't have anybody taking care of your cats? And he says, my whole apartment is like, it's total. Like, everything is broken, and I can't find my cats. And eventually he found them hiding. One was hanging from a hanger in the closet. Like, you have 2 cats in there and nobody had your key to like take care of your cats, man? Like, and he was shaking and like, oh my God. And he's like, can I borrow your vacuum cleaner? Like, what? Like, apparently there was glass everywhere. They had been left, so he was on a business trip. I'm like, I got to take care of your cats when you go out of town. Like, it was very, very sad. I remember walking to a store and there was no electricity. You had to have cash, and you just had to stand outside and kind of yell to the clerk, and then they would hand it to you. And you would pay them the cash that you had. And on the way there, one of the buildings next door to mine was all crumbled, and there was a gal sitting out on the front steps, and she was shaking, crying, and she was in shock. It was bad. There was a bank down the street from my house. It cracked in half. It was like, it looked like something out of a cartoon, like in animation, like it cracked in half. But hey, we are here to talk about Nancy, and I've got like a minute left. and then I'm gonna be off the air. But yeah, I'll still take an earthquake any day. Never KCOC, Texas. He felt a Cali earthquake in Louisiana. What? Uh, I thought they would pay everyone. Nope. Late 90s. Hey, Lori! You're getting the hype horn, Miss Lori. Thank you so much. Everybody, give Lori a thumbs up on her super chat. Please do that for Lori. I was getting a ton of these the first month after monetization, and now like nobody's super chatting me. I'm not even getting the jewels lately. Like, what happened to the vertical live jewels? Those are free. So thank you for supporting me, Lori. I really appreciate you. And make sure you click the like button, everybody. Wow, that's awesome, Lori. And that's not expected from anybody. But if anybody does want to contribute, you can always do the super chats, or you can do the jewels, or on the replays of these videos once they upload, because it takes YouTube about 24 to 48 hours to replay the chat. Then the thanks button will pop up. Now, on the long form content, the shorts, the thanks buttons are already there. A lot of people don't see them depending on what type of device you're watching on. But yeah, you know, I'm not going to ask for it. But if anybody wants to send a super thanks or a super chat or send me some jewels, let me know. Kathy! Oh my gosh, that's a gorgeous one. What is that? On Cinco de Mayo, a Fiesta guitar. You know, it is Cinco de Mayo today, and this is LA. And I had to do a couple of errands. I've been working on a project at my storage facility, and I was like, I better get off the roads before it gets too late, because there's a lot of people drinking today, um, during their lunch hour. A lot of drunk drivers, probably. And I love Mexican food, don't get me wrong. It's my favorite. And I've always been a favorite of Italian food, but now like Mexican, real authentic Mexican food that they actually make here in Los Angeles, like, oh, it's so good. Um, that is gorgeous, that guitar. Nobody sent me that. I think the one that impressed me the most was the Kaleidoscope Eyes. And what's weird is when I was doing the playback, it popped up, and I can never see the other jewels in the playback. I can only see them live when they happen. So thank you, Lori, for the super chat, and thank you, Kathy Doherty, for the Fiesta guitar. That was really pretty. And I'm also watching the chat in front of me on the desktop, which is behind the phone that I'm recording this on. And if I go to look over there to see if any messages pop up there that don't pop up here because YouTube's having an issue, then if you guys hit that jewel and I turn away for just a second, I'll miss it. And some of them are big, but some of them are real tiny, and they're up at the top of the chat, and I'm down looking at the bottom, and I'll be like, oh, I missed it. Can you get a birthday shout out? My name is Nick Kurtz. Amen. God bless. Happy birthday, Nick. Thanks for coming in. Where are you coming in from, Nick? Now, if you want to get a birthday hype horn, which I will hype you, send a jewel, even if it's just a penny. Send a jewel or a super chat, and you'll get the hype horn. But shout out to Nick Kurtz just because it's his birthday. P679Y, Mississippi. I'm very familiar with Mississippi. My dad worked there for many years when I was a kid. P679Y says, I am 61. Do you live in southern Mississippi by any chance? Kathy says, happy birthday. That's not my birthday, but it is Nick's birthday. Let's see. Yeah, I spent a lot of time there as a child. Apparently, it's very different now. Oh, Natchez, Mississippi. Okay. Yeah, when I was a kid and my dad worked there, but we lived in another state, it was there was not a whole lot there. Kathy says she is 70. I do have an older audience now, which is fine because I'm old as dirt now. I'm a little bit older than Savannah. Well, that was unexpected. I was just gonna go off the air, and then that came through, and then I was like, "Oh my gosh." And what does this goal say? Oh, now it's telling me to start another goal. You know what? I'm gonna start a goal for the gifts. And it's so weird because there's not a start button on that. Now it's asking me to start another goal. Okay, I already said that, YouTube. Start goal. They're having so many issues this week. P679 says, I watch with my grandson. I make him a frozen meal and we watch on the TV. Oh, wow. Hey, Karen Dunn. I haven't seen any of my Karens lately. And where are my Kellys today? I make sweet tea for him. Sounds good. Yeah, somebody wrote me the other day. I don't know if it was you, but somebody said they were watching me on a 75-inch TV screen. Hey, Kathy, send a star. Thank you, Miss Kathy. Yeah, I see Kathy with a C in here today. I'm not seeing any of my Kathys with a K. I'm only seeing one Karen and no Kellys because this YouTube channel has a ton of Karens, Kellys, and Kathys. And we've also gained a friend now from Tucson who actually lives in the Catalina foothills. I don't know if she knew Miss Nancy, but she, at some point in her life, her husband worked with Savannah Guthrie, so she knew Savannah. Oh, have a nice evening, Kathy. Thank you again for the star. And I actually saw it this time because it pops up really quick. Wow, thank you so much. Yeah, apparently those are free. The gifts, the jewels. However, they I guess there's also an option to buy them, but I haven't figured that out yet because I lay awake in bed. I'm a total night owl, insomniac, and I go onto YouTube Shorts and I keep clicking through until I can find somebody that's vertical live and someone that's vertical live in the United States. And that's harder to find because so many vertical lives are coming from other countries now, and other countries don't have the jewels. And then I look to see how many I have and I do like little, test sends. I try to send to people I know, but not a lot of people I know do vertical lives. So I pick one that looks like a really good one, and then I send the jewels as well. But I haven't figured out yet how to purchase them. Yeah, you have to buy them. They give you so many for free, and then you have to purchase them. But Kathy, can you explain to me like how is that done? Because I'm down to like I think 10 or less. I had a lot more, but I've been handing them out. Your daughter set them up. Okay. Yeah, I gotta figure out I'm gonna have to do a Google search since Google owns YouTube and find out how to purchase the jewels. Because I do try to like support the channels that I watch regularly. But occasionally I will just come across a vertical live in the middle of the night and I'll, send them a couple. Okay, you click the present in the bottom. Yeah, for me, it just brings up the types and it shows how many, you know, that they that how many credits I have, how many I can send, how much each one is worth. But I'm trying to find the option where I could like, spend 5 or 10 bucks and actually buy a whole group of them. Your daughter is smart. She must be younger than the two of us. You know, I'm a professional YouTuber now, and I still don't have all this figured out. But thank you, Kathy. Cliff Bonds, good evening, April. Haven't kept up lately. Anything new related to the Guthrie case? Yes, we talked about a couple things that I think are important, but you'll have to watch the video. Hey, Karen. Thank you, my dear. She just sent a beautiful sunshine. Yeah, I talked about a lot of stuff to do with the FBI and a lot of stuff to do with this TV special that's coming on tomorrow night that Brian Enton's already recorded. What video is it in? I talked in this video about it. all my videos, we talk about Nancy. We start off with Nancy first, and then whatever's left over comes at us. But yeah, I have a playlist, true crime, news, or Nancy Guthrie, and you can just go from top to bottom. But yeah, there is some information that's come out today. Yeah, if you guys just want to, go to the playlist and just hit play all and it just plays on loop and you can listen to it for the next 3 months. I hope that you do, Cliff. And remember, if I just stream today, like you can watch it back when I go off the air, but you won't be able to see the chat or participate in if for some reason you just wanted to send a super thanks, those don't come up until the chat processes because YouTube, after a live, their little AI robots have to process this and make sure that, nothing was wrong in the chat and, that they have to wipe out the video or something like that. So that's the delay for the monetization button on the super chats, or not the super chats, but the super thanks. But, any of the videos that I've already processed, yeah, you can see them. You can see the chat, you can see the buttons, or you can just go to the long form content and watch those, even the shorts. Oh, thank you, Cliff. Where are you coming in from, Cliff? Yeah, I hope you guys do watch the old live streams and watch if you haven't seen the video I put up on the suspect list on Nancy Guthrie. That's a good one. It's only about 20 minutes long, that video. You're in Georgia. Well, welcome in, Georgia. We got Mississippi in here. We got Massachusetts in here. We got Indiana in here. Who else is in here? I'm in California. Where's Karen Dunn? Where are you located? P679 is in Natchez, Mississippi. Where's everybody coming in from? Rome, Georgia. Nice. Phoenix, Arizona, says Peggy. Yeah, I believe you said that earlier. Karen Dunn says Englewood, Florida. Jewel Giacana says Texas. Wow. And we had somebody in here earlier too from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I haven't seen my international audience come in tonight. What a sporadic location loss. What does that mean? Are you an Astros fan, Jewel? There's an Astros Dodgers game coming on in less than a half hour. Oh, what a sporadic location list. Okay, now I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's hard to type on these little devices if you're on a cell phone. Yeah, I haven't seen my international audience because I've got multiple countries watching now, like a lot. And some of those people have been my biggest supporters. Like, where's my friend Saraf just to come in and say hello? Are you watching this on the replay, Saraf? Let me know if you see it. We got Texas, Georgia, Arizona, Florida. Yeah, we've got Oklahoma in here. We've got Indiana in here. Oh, we had Kentucky. One of our former residents of Arizona just arrived at her new home in Kentucky today, so she came in. It is growing, I have to admit. I wouldn't say I'm popular, but it's growing. Let me check the back end and I'll tell you exactly where we are on the subscriber count. We're up to 2753. Yeah, that's pretty amazing considering I fairly recently hit the 2K mark. At this rate, if it keeps going up, I think I could hit the 3K mark by Memorial Day. But do you realize that like about 70% of the audience that watches me are not subscribed? If all of those people would subscribe, YouTube would boost this and it would really grow. So they don't pay for subscribers, they pay for views. But the more subscribers you have, the more they're going to boost the videos and the more views I'm going to get. And it really could be the difference between the channel surviving and not surviving. P679 says, do you think Nancy is DEAD? I'm afraid so. Some seems fishy to me. She didn't even take her last uh, baby bottle pop. What does that mean, a baby bottle pop? I know she didn't take her medication. Oh, thank you, P6. P6 subscribed. Yeah, make sure you hit that bell icon too, because recently YouTube made an announcement on the back end saying that even if the bell icon is clicked, like when you click all, but you stop watching that person, that creator, that they're not going to send you the notices anymore because they're afraid too many notices are going out and too many people are unsubscribing because they don't want to get slammed with the notices. So make sure you continue watching. Jay is subbed. I know you're subbed. You've been here from the start. So yeah, I'm hoping that before Memorial Day, actually, that I'll be up to the 3K mark. But I really need to have time to make more videos. And oh, Jay, I don't know if you saw it. I think you might have. Remember when I went live out in the field and I was on Coyote Watch and I decided like, well, maybe I need to do that again, but I need to pick a better spot. I know that Johnny Carson Park is a really good spot. Well, yesterday, somebody posted a bunch of pictures of that exact area where I was sitting. And I'm not going to name the coordinates or the streets, but there's that fence that runs along the side of the freeway. And it's a Caltrans fence. So that's actually that property where there was all that, the trees and the brush and the greenery. That's all owned by Caltrans because a major freeway goes through there. And it was kind of like up above. That's why I had like the windows closed, so you didn't hear the whiz of the freeway. But behind that fence, just what I thought, there were several yesterday that were sitting there, according to neighbors, the entire day, just, you know, I guess resting until they go out in the evening. So there's got to be a way that they can get through that fence or over that fence. Because I saw that place and I'm like, that's going to be a coyote den. And I couldn't see where it was, but it was definitely in there because there was tons of them yesterday sitting in there. And they were like posing for cameras, like, I'm going to go back there. And I don't know if I'm going to go live because lately YouTube, the next and the start button is broken. And I have to uninstall the app, clear the storage, which is crazy. This is a brand new phone. Then reinstall the app, reinstall the mics and the cameras, and 20 minutes later, I'm back in business to be able to go live. And I like to have that ability that sometimes something happens. I just want to run out in the field and go live and just, I'll do a thumbnail and a title later, but live, and I can't do that anymore because YouTube, since Friday, the live or next button is stuck. So yeah, P679 says Nancy loves sour gummy worms, supposedly. Oh, wow. I like those too, actually. Could have played a part. Why is that? Oh, just curious. Uh, and she says, yes, I am 67 years old. Yeah, I generally am having an older audience, which is great. I'd rather have an older audience than to have a bunch of kids in here being knuckleheads. If you're under 18 and you're watching, make sure you ask your parents' permission because this video is not in the kids category. And this is, this is a true crime. So this is a very mature subject. But yeah, Jay, when I have a chance, I've been working on a storage project right now. I'm gonna go back over there and maybe I'll just like film it. I'll make sure to bring my new mini tripod and I'll bring my tall tripod, bring my chargers, and we'll just like go for it. Karen Dunn says, I am 67. Yeah, I like the fact that I have an older audience, especially since I'm getting old as dirt. This is the best YouTube. What, my channel or just YouTube? I mean, I watch YouTube all the time now. I don't even watch traditional television. Although I am going to watch a sports app to see the Dodger game. That's all I really need my TV for now is for YouTube and the Dodgers. On my channel, well, thank you. Please feel free to share it with your friends. I know you're subscribed, but I've got to get that sub count up and I've got to get the watch hours up, especially on the long form content. Now, if you want to watch everything in every playlist or you just want to watch true crime, go for it. I have something for everybody here. I've got so many different subjects. There's so much. I've been doing this for 5 years and 4 months. Oh, my son came out as a trans? I think you mean trans. Is that what you're saying? Any suggestions? Good luck to your son. Everybody here is welcome. Jay says, have a headache. Don't remember if I'm 59 or 58. Yeah, I'm at that age where I have to think about it. Yeah, P679, everybody's welcome. Hey, Karen, thank you so much. That's for Karen. She sent a flower. I'm getting pretty close to my ball game, so if you guys are going to send anything, send it now or forever hold your peace. If you guys, the people here that are new, go to my long form content. Go to my homepage, click the video tab, and watch the Nancy Guthrie suspect video. Got to get to your target. Hey, go for it. I only had one super chat, and then that target expired, and then I just decided to add this. But apparently, you can still send the super chats even when the target time has already passed. The silent abuse. The Amazon locker has been full too long. These people better pick up their packages. I have no idea what you're talking about. We're talking about true crime here and the Nancy Guthrie case, day number 94. Yeah, I don't even have an Amazon locker. But if you want to send me anything from Amazon, go to my Amazon wish list. It's on the main channel page under the channel description. Just scroll through the links, go to the one on the very bottom, and click Amazon. And for everybody that's sent so far, never expected to receive one thing. I think I'm up to 10 items now. And I call you guys out. I need to do another long form content and update the mail. More baseball mail came in, not recently though, but since the last mail call video, and tons of things from Amazon have come in from my YouTube channel, but I've already talked about that in the lives. Well, silent abuse, I think I have to time you out for 24 hours, but thank you for the engagement because now that I'm monetized, um, you just showing up and being a knucklehead actually just put money into my channel. Thank you. I wish I was like Curmudgeon Alaska. He gets a guy that comes in apparently that sends super chats that, bashes him or makes fun of him or bullies him. He does something negative and he gets paid for it. Send me a super chat. I hate your channel. Thank you very much. Keep sending them. I just think that's so funny that somebody would actually spend money on their credit card to, send a super chat and boost the channel or boost that video because those, comments and likes and red hearts and smiley faces and super chats and gifts, it all boosts the algorithm for YouTube. That's very, very important, especially all you guys that are watching the replay videos and you're commenting. That helps me a lot. So I think this ring light is really getting to my eye. It's starting to give me a headache. Um, he gets super chats where they're bashing him. And he's like, thank you very much. Remember yesterday, if you guys didn't see yesterday's video, one of the regulars came in and said they heard that I was DEAD. Not yet. Knock on wood. It's a miracle that I'm still here after everything that I've been through, but no, not dead yet. Oh my gosh. I'm not trying to retract the message. Let's see. There, okay, they're in a timeout. Just wanted to make sure. Um, oh, thank you for the smiley face icon, Jay. And Jay is a channel member. That's something I haven't mentioned in a while. If you guys would like to join my YouTube channel, I have 3 different levels. And, once I can get that membership up and I can consistently keep it up, then I can maybe, add some perks with that. But right now, there's just a few members, like maybe 9 or 10. A lot of them are gifted memberships, and those people don't renew. So I don't really have, people that are contributing in that way yet. But it'll tell you what level 1, what you get, level 2, and level 3. So that's cool because every penny helps. Well, anything else before I go watch my Dodger Cardinals game? I think I need to eat something. I haven't eaten much today. I was busy at my storage. So, yeah, my back is killing me because I've been working on, I've been so ill the last several years that I haven't had a chance to do my yearly like clean out and shred project. And then I dropped a box yesterday. There was a box that had no tape on the bottom. Don't ask me how it got there. And some very expensive glass Christmas ornaments that I haven't used in years because I haven't had a Christmas tree since like 2016. They smashed all over the floor. So I had to bring a little broom and dustpan and clean up all that glass today and go take all the items that needed to be shredded and haul it into the mailbox. They had to help me because it's hard to carry with a cane. And like, oh, my back is just killing me. I still have another 2 boxes in the car to go through, like, and it cost a lot today. It cost me like $77.50 just to get the load that was in the trunk shredded, and there's still more to go. Enjoy that LA game. I will. Thank you for coming in, Peggy. Take care, sweetie. Later, bye. Survival Empire, Rational Reviews. Hello, April Davis. Hello to you. Just getting ready to go off the air. So if there's anything you want to say or contribute, you need to do it now, or you'll have to watch it on the replay. And if you need to see the chat also, that'll take a day or 2 for YouTube to process the chat. Yeah, they'll put the video up right away, but you won't be able to see the chat. Enjoy your day. Know you're loved. Well, I love all you guys. Thank you to all my new friends and my YouTube family here. And thank you to the person at the beginning of the video that sent the super chat for $10. Thank you so much. That's what really helps. That'll help keep the channel going. And thank you for all those that sent the really cute little jewels. I appreciate that. And those are easy because those don't cost anything. Well, unless you run out and then they ask you to buy it. But I think YouTube gives you so many per month. I guess it depends on how often you engage on YouTube in these chats. But thank you. Those are great. Those are kind of fun. When I was briefly monetized in the past, they didn't have that yet. So that's been interesting learning about that. Well, okay. I guess there's nothing else to talk about here. If you didn't see the beginning, go back to the beginning. There was a couple big things that we talked about on the Nancy Guthrie case. And make sure that tomorrow night you tune into the CW and watch that Brian Hinton special. And then we can all talk about it. Good night, Jay.